Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our Shakespearean satirist. Say hi, Shakespearean satirist.
Yes, hello. You said a silly intro was forthcoming, and it did not disappoint.
Huzzah, yeah.
Huzzah, indeed.
Ross, thank you so much. I'm such a huge fan of yours, just across the board. Here's the thing. I've talked to Rashawn Scott, and I talked to her about this was months and months and months ago, but I was like, musical improv, how the fuck does that work? That was like my opener to her. And she was like, I think musical improv is easy. And I was like, I think you're wrong, but okay. But then even she agreed that like Shakespearean improv is next level bonkers.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'll say, yeah, it's easy for her. She's when you're an incredibly talented genius at it, like she is. But yes, I've been doing a musical improv and this improvised Shakespeare company show for a long time now. So thankfully, I have the chance to practice it frequently, and that's the only way you can keep them chops up.
Yeah. So I usually like to start these interviews with just like the weirdest possible question.
Great.
Because like that's just like the vibe that I have here. So obviously the most important thing I'm going to ask you, can a Johnny Carson impersonator hit?
In today's world?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I think we're due. Okay. I think why stop there? I say, let's get a Steve Allen impersonator. Let's get a Dick Cavett impersonator. I want them all back. Let's resurrect all our mid-century kings of late night.
A coworker of mine, this is wild, like messaged me, right before we started talking, I was like, I know you don't know who I am, which is fair. Because if you're not on TikTok, there is no reason to know who I am. Yes, but a coworker was like, hey, I really love your interviews that you do with Dropout people. And I was like, oh, that's so kind of you. And they got to see you do, let's see, I wrote it down, the Macbeths Adopt a Cat. 2 weekends ago in Des Moines. They happened to live in Des Moines. And
that's cool.
They're like, yeah, I got to see the improvised Shakespeare company. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Like, it was the Macbeths Adopt a Cat. It was super fun. And I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Like I said, I'm so blown away by like Shakespearean improv, especially just because it's so mind blowing to me that like it's a thing that anyone can do, but you can do it so well. I'm curious, like when did you like get into Shakespeare? How did you when did this like process come about of like, hey, I think we've got something here that is really special?
Yeah. Well, thanks to your friend for coming to that show. When you said that title, I was like, how do I know that? It's like, oh, right, we did it a week ago. You do the shows and they just sort of get like jettisoned from your brain immediately afterwards. All of us in that show are definitely like improv people first. We all met each other in the Chicago improv scene and then one of us, this fellow Blaine Swin, who's sort of the ringleader director of the show, wanted to mount a long form improvised Shakespeare show. If anybody who's done like or seen like Whose Line Is It Anyway style short form games, there's games where you do like, hey, let's do a regular contemporary scene and now let's see it as like a film noir and a sci-fi and a Shakespeare. So I feel like if anybody's done it, it's often in a situation like that. And I certainly had done it in that way. And Blaine was like, can we do this like actually the length of like a play and sustain it? And so we mounted it at a theater in Chicago, and we were lucky in that we got to run it for a while and kind of get through our initial growing pains. And the real thing that made it click, I think, initially was that the cast at that time really started to take it really seriously. And part of that was we were lucky in that Blaine, the fellow I mentioned before, was getting his PhD in philosophy and religion at Loyola at the time. A colleague of his in the philosophy department taught an undergraduate seminar on philosophy and Shakespeare. And this guy saw our show and just out of the goodness of his heart was like, hey, on weekends, do you want to come and like, we'll read through the plays and I'll basically, your rehearsal process for a while will just be like a college level Shakespeare class. And so we did that and diving into it in that way where we started to really deeply read the plays and and I think our show, I hope, and we aspire to elevate it beyond like we're beeth, thoueth, wheneth, thereth, and trying to like actually try to do like to the best of our ability an homage to it, and try to surprise ourselves with how poetic we can be if possible. And that's where it really dug in, where we really start to become students of it, and then it became a popular show, and we started doing it a lot more, and it became
Sir Patrick Stewart has joined you on stage, what, 4 or 5 times at this point? Like,
about half a dozen times now.
Mind-blowingly
I know.
cool.
It's nuts. It's nuts that happened. We we met him randomly doing a 2 of us in the group met him doing a show with another theater in Chicago called Second City, where he was a guest, and we basically like pigeonholed him afterwards and was like, that was really fun. We do this longer thing if you ever want to do it. And he was like, I'll be in touch. And we were thinking, of course, he'll never be in touch. But my friends, he was in touch. And he's sat in with us several times now, and he's a delight. And it's amazing.
How are his improv chops? How's he?
I mean, he's a once in a generation theater talent.
Right.
The thing that is the most wild about being on stage with him is just, as soon as he steps on stage, he's just like the center of gravity. There's just something about like the level of gravitas that he has on stage, that he can just like command attention in this effortless way. And it's not just that he's a celebrity. It's that he just has this presence. And of course his voice is just such a melodious instrument.
Yeah.
And but he just knows he's just got such a bone deep knowledge of those plays and that language, so he can riff in that gear very easily. But as far as like his improv chops, because he'd never performed theatrical improvisation ever before he did it with us, like, so going from like never having done anything to like do a show for like 90 minutes with us is a real act of chutzpah on his part. And he's great. Like he's also like really chaotic in a fun way. Like he makes wild choices, and he's got a very funny dirty mind at times, which is especially delightful.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's hilarious. And just a truly, they say don't meet your heroes, but like truly someone who is as much of a dear, sweet gentleman as you would hope he actually is.
That's so wonderful. Yeah, I remember I saw you, I think you posted it on Instagram. I was just like, what a dream that must be. Like,
I know.
Of anyone. I mean, like, I can't think of anyone else you would rather have. I mean, like, other than like the Bard himself, like, who else would you rather have? Like,
I know he's so, I mean, yeah, aside from his bona fides in the sci-fi fantasy Marvel world, he is sort of like this living legend of the stage. And so it's just so cool to, I think he really just enjoys the spontaneity and freedom of it. Other people have sat in with us as well. Just a few though. Jason Alexander has sat in with us many times. Helen Hunt has sat in with us before.
Wow.
Bradley Whitford has sat in with us, and I think I can hopefully flatter ourselves for the atmosphere of support that we have as improvisers, which all improvisers hope at their best have. That I think all of them walk away from the experience feeling very. Helen Hunt, or one of them described as like, wow, that was like a year of therapy, like just doing this show. I think there is just something about like facing a scary situation that ultimately is very low stakes, and then just like stepping out of the ledge and feeling supported by people that is really valuable and liberating for people.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I will say, like, the one thing, oh man, so like I mentioned, I live in Austin, and we have the Moon Tower Comedy Festival every year, and it's like real big for stand-up and very, very little for improv. And every year I'm like, just bring some of the like brilliant dropout people and have them do improv here, please. Bring Shakespeare. So this is, I'll just
down, baby.
post this on Instagram. Moon Tower, bring bring Shakespeare improvised, like
Let's
it's
get that letter
everyone,
writing campaign going now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Got
From
to
your
like
mouth,
a
from your
year.
mouth to God's ear. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, do you have like favorite modern adaptations of
Oh,
Shakespeare stuff? I tell you, mine is Scotland, PA.
oh yeah.
Truly one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Just like such a delight.
Yes. I mean, so many of them are really good. Like 10 Things I Hate About You is so
Mhm.
charming, and Strange Brew is a riff on Hamlet. Um, I the one that's it's not a full modern representation, but it's just a remounting that Cohen Scottish play, the most recent Macbeth with Denzel Washington, is so good. It might be
Yeah,
my favorite Shakespeare adaptation. But yeah, I think
yeah,
those are my answers, I think.
yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spend all the time on Shakespeare, although, like, because like A Game Most Changed really did like blow my mind in a way that I wasn't prepared for. Like just like the mastery of like weaving in Sam's prompts along
Mm.
with like a narrative that made it all the way through was just like so wild. I mean, it was like, I mean, obviously a similar reaction, I think, when people saw, the official cast recording, the Welcome to Mountport, of
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, what is this thing that I've never seen before? But Romeo and Juliet, good or bad for high school? I think bad.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think
I think
there's
there are
better
better
plays.
plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's I mean, it's good. There's but I think it's clunky in ways that maybe don't hit as your first exposure. Maybe not. Um, yeah. As far
I
as
think it's
what to replace it with, tough question. But
yeah.
because
I
I
guess
know
just
that.
it's not giving high schoolers enough credit. Like they're like, well, it has to be something about teenagers, or they won't care. It's like I think they could care about things other than
Yeah,
teenagers.
yeah, I think you can. A friend of mine can to ask a well-worn phrase of podcast. Can we swear on this show?
Yes, you can.
Great. A friend of mine said that he was in the English department, like teachers area of his college, and a crusty old professor was going to off to teach something, and it's like, "What are you about to teach?" Probably whatever it was, like As You Like It. Why don't you teach Lear to undergraduates? Never. Well, why not? Because it's none of their fucking business. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. They are mature themes, but
Yeah.
they're human themes.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just because I've got that exposure to that sort of like pseudo class we took. I've now read almost all of them, and I've become a fan of some of the deeper cuts. I think my favorite plays are the Henry IVs. I think those are really underread by like American students, and they're so funny and action packed. If you're looking for something that's got like a lot of dramatic bombast, a lot of poetry, a lot of humor, and a lot of pathos, they've got it all. Like those Henry IV plays fire on every cylinder of entertainment, and I think. And the only barrier of entry you got to get over is just you got to get a little bit of the historical context. But as soon as you kind of have just the broad strokes in your head, it's and it is a play about it's a coming of age story, because it's if you're unfamiliar, it's the story of the young Henry V. Even though they're called the Henry IV plays, they're mostly about Henry IV's son, who is the classic Nepo baby who's slumming it and pretending to be like a party boy and hanging out in the bars of London with his pal John Falstaff, who is one of the best characters in Shakespeare, a sort of barstool philosopher, rogue, and drunken knight, and so you get these very funny scenes with them, and the growing sense of tragedy and dread as Henry IV, young Prince Hal, sheds his carefree ways and becomes the king. It's great. I think that's what we should read instead.
There you go. Well, speaking of Nepo babies, Sam Reich.
Mm.
Yeah, uh, make
Nip.
some noise. Just like is it? Just like the most. Like, I've talked to Vic a whole bunch. Vic and I have, I think, accidentally started a podcast together. I lead a very weird life now. But like Vic has described Make Some Noise as the easiest paycheck ever, because you just get to show up and goof about for a little bit and
I
then you're
mean,
done. What's it like hopping on Make Some Noise?
I mean, they ain't wrong. It's a certified blast. It is one of the most fun jobs you could have, I think. Because you know you're going to go in and you're going to be so protected. You're going to get to play and have fun, and all the infrastructure is there to assist and support you. And one thing that is cool is that so much of the charm of that show, when you watch it, is Sam reveling and cackling delightedly at everyone's bits. And you could think cynically that like that's a put on and that's not that's in some way performative, but he is genuinely like that supportive of a guy. He's just another certified sweetie who just wants to see you succeed. And yeah, it's just a blast. I usually walk out of those just like, what the hell did I do? I just kind of, especially, I mean, very important people was especially that of like walking out the door afterwards and being like, I don't remember what I did. Like, I just went somewhere else and just kind of popped out on the other end.
Well, a perfect transition. Lucian Azathoth, am I hitting the name right?
Yes.
I'm assuming a Cthulhu reference with the last name. I'm just deep in the like literature references on your end, of course. God, that show is truly something special. I'm always blown away. I know you said at the beginning of, like, right at the reveal, that if not for a couple of life choices, this would be you. Pete Holmes has a joke about like how in every other universe he's a youth pastor. This is the only one where he's a comedian. Is that how you feel as well?
I think there maybe contain more multitudes than that, but definitely like. Yeah, I think I was close. I was close to at least the physical affect of that character. I was getting there. But I also share a lot of those interests. I'm not a theistic occultist, but I am very interested in that stuff just as an enthusiast, because I think it's so strange and interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that I really loved about your performance as Lucian, and Rashawn as well, is that like Midwestern accent with the like wild sentences, but like the juxtaposition of like, here's a like super crazy thing about like worshiping the devil and also zip zap zop. Like what's like that like quick bounce between of like generic youth group, satanic youth group.
I feel like we fell into a nice rhythm of that of like hyper occulter stuff with youth group stuff, and then Rashawn just coming in and sniping with very like excellent one-liners and things. It was great.
Yeah, you both were just so fantastic. Curious, I've talked to like Alex, the head of the makeup department, and I know they try to do tricks when they're putting on makeup to like throw you off what is being applied to you. Did you have any idea what was happening?
I mean, there were so many moments in that where I was just like so confused, especially the prosthetic ear gauges were like the most maybe intense part of that look. And yeah, so much of my time in the chair was like feeling all this gunk being placed around my head. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to have like they're building me like a fake head or fake ears. And then all the brushing on the arms, I was like, I thought they were probably tattoos, but I wasn't certain. And then, God, just the little piercings were also very, very intense, because a little pinchy. But I was hugely confused by what was happening. It was definitely not until I because they make you close your eyes for all of it.
Right.
So once I opened my eyes, I could just kind of peek out of the corner of my eye and see what they'd done to my nails. So I was like, okay, I've got a little inkling as to what's about to happen here.
Yeah. I know. It's like I've talked to BDG about like they drew a line across his neck with like a brush, but didn't actually do anything. So he thought he was like turning into like a zombie, that like it was like a slit throat, but there's literally no makeup being applied.
Wow.
And a lot of that was because Josh Rubin knew every single thing that they were doing. So every time they did anything, because he's had so much experience with like Hello, My Name Is and other various makeup projects, he was just like, what's your favorite way to apply pimples? Like he was at that level, like as the like eyes closed. And so that apparently after him was when they started like actively lying to people of like, all right, let's glue on the horns now, when there weren't any like that sort of level of detail.
Looking back, there were maybe those sorts of bits and banter that the makeup artists were doing, but it was all just kind of going over my head because I'm not as deep in the prosthetic life as Josh is.
Apparently they went to the point of like they would step outside to where people could hear them and have a conversation about like the things that they were going to do that weren't true. And I was like, this is all so great. It's a shame that like you can obviously repeat that in season 2 with new people, but the people, if they're repeats, like it's going to be tough to like trick them again.
I mean, but you can fool me because I really don't know what the hell's going on. So
a good reason to have you back on season 2, or any future season. I
just closed my eyes and just went into a meditative headspace and let myself be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, was it one of the? You said like you like leaving. You were like, "What the hell just happened?" Is it one of those where you had to like 2 weeks ago, I guess, or whatever, when the episode came out, like you had to sit down and watch and be like, "Oh, this is what happened that day." Like literally, just like totally gone.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm just a vessel, Jordan. These characters just kind of come in and then they leave, and I don't touch base with them again. No, watching it was like, oh right, that's what we did. That's what we did. Because like it just got like blasted right out when I was done.
Right.
I knew what I looked like, but I had no idea. It was such a blur. It all goes by so fast.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially, they're shooting 3 episodes a day. They're chugging through those things.
Yeah.
It was such a fun episode. I mean, I've been madly in love with every episode of VIP. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch other ones.
Everyone's so damn funny.
Yeah,
and Vic is such an incredible, like, in that role. That
it's genuinely unfair how talented Vic is. Like they're just so smart and funny and so nice. Like what's the like? Come on, I know we're getting Brennan this week. In the finale. Apparently, it's like the biggest dive into Host Vic's backstory. I loved the reveal we got in your episode that Host Vic's stepdaughter is the same age as them. What a truly wild turn that was.
And of course, we are just seeing it from that one episode when we're doing it, so we have no idea of like what the level of lore drop this is. But it's been fun to see everybody in comments reacting to how Vic's character is getting built out.
I remember one of the first episodes. I don't remember which episode it was, but someone like in I think either Reddit or the Discord was like, "It's wild how much like lore Host Vic accidentally had," and Vic was like, Tamara and I worked so hard on that. Like we did so much work, like making like the full character backstory for Host Vic. Like this was not accidentally like thrown in here.
Well, that's great.
But speaking of Brennan, I feel like you and Brennan are two of the people most ready to drop into a monologue at any given point.
I'm a windbag, as you might say, a blowhard.
Where it obviously works to a huge benefit in improv comedy to just be able to be like, and now I go, like now I'm ready to give like this is my like deep, meaningful satanic ritual right before Rashawn jumps in with "and wear deodorant."
And wear deodorant, like some practical advice, which is nice to get.
Yes,
especially for an adolescent.
Yes, it's very important. Deodorant, aluminum, all important stuff.
Yes.
How is it just a natural thing?
I don't know.
Long tested.
Yes, long tested. I don't know. It is a just a. I don't know how to put this. Yeah, I am like, if you can break things down into like, are you more physical? Are you more I'm definitely more leaning verbal. That is my comfort zone as a performer. I think it just comes from doing a lot of shows where that's part of it. Mm-hmm. I know doing so much of the Shakespeare show has definitely made me more comfortable with occupying that kind of space. And
monologue's very important there.
Yeah, monologuing is soliloquy. I mean, it is a rare show in that, like, you'll be in a 2-person scene and the other person will go for a while, like, and to kind of develop a whole little kind of to develop and blow out a thought over the course of a chunk of time. And the give and take can be a little slower in a cool way. That is unlike other improv shows. So yeah, I like it. I think it maybe has to do with I grew up without a TV when I was a little kid, and I spent a lot of time with audio entertainment. Like I was read to. I listened to a lot of books on tape. I listened to a lot of like taped radio plays and things like that. So just like telling stories with words and riffing with words was so much a part of my sort of creative bedrock. I don't know if that's that's how I can kind of like psychoanalyze myself about it, but that's so I'm glad that I found a way to weaponize it.
It weaponized it so well. I often think about complicated country lawyer and just like the quickness to drop into like the dabs, just like the speed at which you drop into that character is so much fun. Like I've talked to people that have written prompts for Make Some Noise, and it's one of those things where I've heard that like Brennan prompts, Ross prompts can be similar vibes of like just give them something and let them go. Like,
yes, I see that. Where you see how you're being teed up. That was very fun, and I come from the South, so I love that. I've been steeped in that balmy and humid milieu. Yeah, I know those sorts of people.
Do you have any like favorite prompts off the top of your head?
I mean,
Make Some Noise.
That one is one of my favorites for sure, just because it's so ridiculous and concise. It's
just everything in it. Like it's just like you like that's such a short burst, and just like immediately you're like, I got it, let's go. Like,
that may be my favorite. Although the Confederate soldier sexting was so fun.
Such a good one. Yeah.
Honestly,
again,
they're all bangers, man. They're they're so good at pinpointing something that you will find tantalizing and fun, and sending it over the plate for you.
Yeah, I know you're in at least one episode of the next season, because Chris Grace posted a picture where you were not very well cropped out of, and then I talked to Sam about it, and I got him to admit that it was you.
Yes. But that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. I know it's a monster season of, I think it's 22 episodes or something.
Yeah. Chunky.
It's exciting. I love that it's just like, hey, this is it's not that it's easy, because obviously like it takes real talent to, write the prompts, perform the prompts, but it's such a simplistic format, I guess, of just like, hey, here's a funny bit.
Yeah.
We're going to set it up into three parts, like first on your own, then in duos, then the whole group. And just like, works so well. And just like, I'm so excited to drop. It's just like, yeah, let's just make a ton of them.
Yeah, it's a very like economical format, and that liberates a lot of creativity and fun, and it's great. I mean, so many people have been banging their head against the wall for decades trying to find the way that improv translates on camera in various ways, and damn it, they did it.
They did it.
Those bastards, they did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really seems to work.
Yeah. I will say another favorite of mine, well, all of your Beastie Boys.
But there's been a couple. Yeah.
There's been a couple, but Beastie Boys, just like the sting, whatever the
just the last word of the where they all come together.
I mean, how I assume you got to see the various people that made the full songs. How amazing was that to get to see?
I know, it blows my mind. You do these things in a vacuum, and you forget that when they're getting launched into internet land, that there will be a conversation taking place. So yeah, that was just I didn't even realize it as I was doing it, or just saying like, do with that what you want, TikTok or whatever, that there'd be multiple people doing it, which is so funny and awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so good. Especially, I mean, like, people took, I mean, your words obviously like they were a difficult thread to form that through, and people were like, I got it. Like,
that was the point. Yeah, once you do a few, you're like, oh yes, let's try to make these as non sequitur as possible. Speaking of Beastie Boys, though, full other Beastie Boy songs. What's karaoke nights like? When you get to work with people like Rashawn, Wayne Brady. I mean, no big deal. NBD. I know. Yeah. Truly a dream come true. Just a dream come true. It is that. There's so much edited out of those episodes, not people's songs, but just us poring over that book, because there's so many good options. It's like there's so many ridiculous artist song title combinations to choose from. It's absolutely wild. That is also just such an amazingly simple format that is so fun to do. And also props to Aaron and the behind the scenes musicians,
TJ Dumpster,
who post produce
because puts in a ton of that stuff.
It's they make it so much better than the sum of its parts. But yeah, I love that. It's such a cool challenge to try to do something in the style of to see if you've got like something like an impression, to take a swing at the impression, but even if not, just to do the song right off the top is such a fun challenge.
Yeah, I loved when Zach Reno came out and was like, look, I'm not an impressionist. Yeah, please do not expect like Ross Bryant level like song quality.
Methinks he doth protest too much, because I mean
he Zach, did throw out Horse Girl, so
Zach is a genius at it all. Yeah, one of the best in the game for sure. The king.
Yes. Yeah. So speaking of Zach, I pitched this to Rashawn a while ago. I'll pitch it to you as well, which is get you in the dome for D20, obviously. Set you up as DM. Rashawn, Jess, Zach, a mystery fourth. Obviously, you can figure it out. And an Oops All Bards season. Rashawn wanted Intergalactic Space Funk, which I think fantastic. Yeah. Like when is that going to happen? When are we getting our improv D20 season?
I love what you're laying down here, because you ain't said nothing but a word. I hope that what this is just a speaking something into existence. Let's speak that into existence, because that sounds like a dang old blast. I don't know if and when something of that sort will ever happen, but I hope it does.
Yes. What would you have the production crew work on, though, since you hate minis so very much?
Yes. No. Look, the firestorm that I created. No. What would I have them work on? I want it to be on the Charlie Rose set. I just want it dark all around. Just more tables. Not even a table. No.
People sitting in chairs holding pieces of paper.
Yes. No, yeah. Can you imagine? I don't know. I'm not. Look, I'm not opposed to minis. I'm not gonna stand in the way of anybody's fun. Um, but I love to make a paracosm with my friends. I want to make the imaginative world in which we all can enter. And yeah, that's my favorite. I do love minis actually. My favorite games have been the ones where it's just like a little piece of plastic and you quickly dry erase, draw a map, and then you put a couple like quarters or something down for your players. Yeah, maybe we'll lower our budget by having one of those. We'll just have a dry erase, just a dry erase board and some some bottle caps.
That would be so funny. Yeah,
the unplugged version.
Yeah. Do people still like just constantly DM you about like how could you not love minis? How could you only want theater of the mind?
I did no one did really come at me that hard. It has come up though. People definitely like after shows have brought that up. Like and partisans have whispered to me like, I too am a theater of the mind, a partisan. I was like, yes, brother, yes, comrade, I see you. But yeah, everything has its place. Look, I'm not here to I am not that strident.
But it makes for better.
It makes for look.
Yeah, when
we're out here making entertainment, baby.
Yeah.
That's the fun.
Especially if you can go against something that Brennan clearly loves. Like you can get Brennan riled up. It's always going to be good TV.
Exactly. You got to poke the bear.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much to get him to go. I guess speaking of Brennan, I don't know. I'm not great at transitions. What you have a favorite accent that you love to drop into?
Okay. I mean, God, clearly I think Brennan and I seemingly are birds of a feather, in that we're like very. We love to take a swing at a regional dialect, and there's, I grew up in the South. That's one that I can fall into, and I love hyper regionalism. So like, what's the difference between a Louisiana accent and a North Carolina accent and an Appalachian accent? Because these are all different. I tell you, living in Chicago as long as I did, I feel like every Chicago improviser has a Chicago suburbs guy that they can just drop into just by osmosis for living there for so long. That is basically like that SNL Superfans sketch, but it's there are still people that talk like that. That is a real thing, and when you encounter it in real life, it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
Go get a hot Italian beef and celebrate.
Gotta get a wet beef. Drag it through the garden. Go see the Sacks. Bears, Hawks, Sox, Bulls.
Absolutely delightful. Yeah,
I gotta go up to Skokie. My brother's got his bowling tournament going on. Dan Ryan. Too much construction.
I grew up in just across the river from St. Louis in Illinois. So like I've spent a decent enough amount of time to hear that accent in person in Chicago. It's such a weird.
I know,
weird accent.
It's such a weird relic. Like the Midwest has such a broad range, because like you will totally hear that like Great Lakes, like those guys got to go to Schaumburg, go to Portillo's, pick myself up a beef, and like you go like several hours, and like Southern Illinois is basically like Kentucky, so you're like deep South suddenly.
You cross the river into Missouri, and suddenly it's Warsh and Missouri. How did this happen?
Right. Yeah, I lived in Texas around a bunch of like Yeller, Winder, all that stuff. Yeah, love all that.
Yeah,
I feel like we live in a time where with growing cultural homogenization. So I love these little holdouts of regionalism is nice.
Yeah. I assume you have seen the Deep Blue Ink animated video of you and Brennan going back and forth on accents.
Oh my God. Anytime I see something like that, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I think my favorite touch is the menu changes every time. That's like in
Yes,
the center of like the drink of like matching whichever accent you're doing. Such a
so funny.
beautiful choice.
I also noticed that I think he does a French accent, and I kind of do one a little bit later, and the
Yeah.
little Sam just does it like, let him go. Like,
Yeah.
clearly, I'm doing a Breton accent
Yes.
versus a
Yeah.
Parisian accent. It's
Right.
these regionalisms go deep, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, entirely fair. Was that the first time you had met Brennan that day in person?
No, we'd met each other before. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just on the scene. Yeah. I'm blanking. No, we played games together. I think maybe the first time I met him was my friends Jared, Logan, and Clint Truck started a role playing game streaming channel over the course of the pandemic called Stream of Blood, and we played a lot of Call of Cthulhu, and there was a big kind of like anthologized Call of Cthulhu game that we played, and he and I think the first time we met was playing Call of Cthulhu together on that. So just the way one grows one's social circle nowadays. That's
naturally.
yeah. We met each other being destroyed by an eldritch entity.
Yeah, good bonding experience.
It is good icebreaker.
Oh man, I should also say you're an incredibly I hate how talented you are. Incredibly talented cartoonist as well.
That's kind of you.
I enjoy so much. I mean, how do you post sort of like slice of life cartoons on the Instagram?
Yeah.
Of what you've been up to. Is that just like a passion hobby? Is this going to be a book? What are we talking here?
I don't have a ton of ambitions connected to it. It is just a hobby for now. Although I'll submit. For a while there, I was submitting to the New Yorker every now and then. I still have not gotten in, but I never really felt like my style had kind of found itself to the point that I liked, and I'm still kind of like in my practice as a cartoonist is kind of to try to, I don't know, just find my rhythm and my workflow and how it all flows best. And it's a meditative thing for me to draw each day. And I've always loved cartoons. I've always loved newspaper cartoons. And yeah, it's good for my soul. Yeah. To just do as a fun little hobby.
It's delightful. What are some of the favorite newspaper cartoons then?
Oh gosh. I mean,
obviously, Dilbert and the political messages.
I'm not a fan of Dilbert. I'm more so a fan of the creator and his his attitude about modern masculinity. No, I like. I mean, I'm a fan of like the greatest hits of your Calvin and Hobbes, your Far Side. I love of contemporary cartoons. I'm not a daily newspaper reader, so I feel like I don't have a real keen sense of what's current. Although I love the style of Mutts. I just love the art style of Mutts. When I look at Pearls Before Swine, it's good. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really understand Peanuts. I just thought now I love Peanuts. It's just so in its own wavelength, and the art of it is so elegant and beautiful. But I like all kinds of cartoons. I really loved learning about old cartoons. I love Crazy Cat, the old 1920s cartoon by George Harriman, is just one of the most towering achievements in American art, period. And yeah, I love Winsor McKay, and I love a lot of New Yorker cartoonists too, like especially like Asher Perlman is a friend of mine who's a current New Yorker cartoonist, and I think he's just incredibly brilliant and prolific. He's just like someone who's totally found like such a clear voice in that medium. There's a cartoonist named Ivan Brunetti that I really love, who wrote some very like hyper disturbing, like unrestrained id self-published comics. And he has kind of mellowed into this very sensitive cartoonist whose style has kind of mirrored that shift, and he's like incredibly elegant and beautiful. I really love cartoonists that do a lot with a little, where like the cartooning is almost like handwriting, where it's so like gestural that almost no one else could do it other than them. It's so personal. Yeah,
that's very cool. Does it also translate to a love of comic books, or?
I grew up reading, of all things, Walt Disney comic books. Like all the comics that like DuckTales is based on were like these 1950s and 60s comics by this guy, Carl Barks. And I've read like all of those because randomly a family friend of ours was like an obsessive who became a dealer of those, and all the damaged ones that he couldn't sell, he would like send to me when I was a little kid. So I just had stacks and stacks of these Uncle Scrooge comics. So I love those. But I'm
Is that the series where you learn about the kid's dad and like a weird, like the really weird, like whatever, like Mr. Duck or whatever they called him?
Like Huey, Dewey, and Louie's father.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know that Carl Barks ever gets into that, but his successor, a more contemporary duck artist who kind of picked up the torch, is this guy named Don Rosa. And Don Rosa wrote a series called The Life and Times of Uncle Scrooge. And it's almost like a DuckTales prequel. Like it's highly recommended. It's really beautiful, like historical fiction almost about Uncle Scrooge. And he gets way into the weeds of like the duck family tree. And so knowing that, yes, Huey, Dewey, and Louie are the sons of, I think, Della Duck, who is Donald's sister, but we don't know much about their dad. But you get like little hints. And you definitely learn way more about like the Scottish ancestry of Scrooge McDuck and the Clan McDuck. And yeah. So as you can tell, I'm quite cool. And yeah, but I don't know. I know next to nothing about superhero comics. Like I know like the broad strokes, greatest hits, but I can't go deep like a lot of people. Yeah. I know my Ducks, but I don't know my X-Men.
I mean, like the Ducks had such a huge like renaissance. Now it is probably 6 years ago now because time is meaningless. It feels like it was just yesterday. But like a triumph of a new series.
And one that was really reverent to all the stuff in those comic books and the characters that Barks created. Like Flintheart Glungle, the second richest duck in the world. Gladstone Gander, the world's luckiest duck. Gyro Gearloose, the incredible inventor. All these wonderful characters. I wonder if I've got them close at hand. Yeah. Like for example, here's my enormous Uncle Scrooge collection. And one of the co-editors of this was the guy that sent me all those comics. Like I've got like stacks and stacks of this stuff. Yeah. I like truly maybe my most treasured possession. Just this beautiful like a comic. When did this come out? 78. Like, woo,
amazing,
great stuff. Like, I was raised not on TV but on this kind of thing, which is why I tend oldie timey in my affect.
Yeah, I mean, I think the path of Clan McDuck into Macbeth makes a lot of sense.
Hey, it's the first time I've really put those together, but it's all coming together now. Yeah.
Oh. Boy, I'll tell you what, when we started this is not how I thought things would end up. In the best possible way.
Oh, good.
Now I want to read those comics. That seems delightful.
They're they're really.
I'm really excited
to
text a friend of mine who is obsessed with Donald Duck to tell her all about this conversation.
Awesome, yeah. One little piece of trivia that I always love these comics is that I think there's one particular story that Barks wrote called The Prize of Pizarro, and it's and the Ducks go to find some treasure in South America, and they encounter a bunch of booby traps, and clearly the writers of Indiana Jones loved this comic because there's a booby trap in this comic that is in each of the. They get chased by a boulder. A scythe swings down and almost gets them. There's a sluice gate that opens up and blasts water through a tunnel that they have to escape. It's like, it's a hugely Indiana Jones-y story. There's a lot
funny.
There's a lot of Carl Barks duck comic DNA in Indiana Jones.
Who knew? George Lucas, huge duck fan.
Yeah, we're out there.
Yeah, the duck truthers out here about Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a Disney adult. I'm not the biggest all things Disney person. It's just kind of localized to this. So I'm not super psyched to go to. I don't need to go to Disneyland every day, but I do really want to go to Disney World because at Toontown they've got a statue of Cornelius Coote, the founder of Duckburg, and that's a creation of Carl Barks. And just the idea that there's an actual statue of that, I would kind of like to see.
Oh man, that's so good. What a specific thing.
I know.
Like, I'm actually here for Cornelius Coote.
Yeah.
The classic character.
Right.
I mean, on the plus side, you probably won't have to wait long to get a picture with the statue. I'm betting it's not like a line.
Yeah. No. I'm not here for Galaxy's Edge. Keep your blue milk. Yeah. I want to see Cornelius Coote.
Yeah, I don't need a lightsaber.
No.
Cornelius Coote. Oh man, that's so fun. God, I don't even know where to go from here. And I hate ending early because you're a genius, and I don't know if we'll ever talk again. So
very kind.
I will certainly pester you to talk again.
Okay.
All I do ever. I try to build getting Sam was obviously a real feather in the cap of all right, well now everyone's going to think I'm legitimate because Sam talked to me.
Yes. You've got the imprimatur of the king.
All right, so you and Brennan.
Yes.
Monologue battle opposed to a rap battle. A new show on Dropout. What do you think?
Dueling monologues. Is there an audience for that? I wonder. That just makes me want to do that just sounds like a one act play. Let's just do an American Playhouse.
Film it for Dropout Presents. Done.
Now that'll do. I tell you, this is just me riffing off the top of my head. If they could do a thing where they just via very important people style gave you an era and you just put on the attire of a particular decade in time and then walked onto a set that was recreating that decade, and it's like, okay, and now you're going to do your PBS Playhouse production, and you're going to improvise it starting now. There's probably not enough there, but that's the thing that I'd like to do the most.
Yeah, that would be so fun. Obviously, one of the things I love about Dropout, I've built a community for myself, but the community always feels very good. And I can say as someone that has like I said, a decent following on TikTok of people who specifically come to me to talk about Dropout stuff. I know people get so excited every time they see you in any Dropout show that's coming up, whether it's Play It By Ear, Make Some Noise. Have you been on Game Changer? My mind, well, obviously a game was changed. Yeah, of course.
I confuse Make Some Noise and Game Changer myself, but yes. I think that's the only time I've done it. I think. But yeah.
Now my brain was was the first karaoke night with you? I think that was Game Changer. Because then it moved to Make Some Noise. Yeah, right. It's all so foggy. But I can say how has it felt for you? There's the fandom, I assume very supportive. Yeah. Excited to see you and everything.
I'm not the most hyper engaged in virtual life, but yeah, it does seem to be a community, if I can call it that, of a very warm-hearted, kind, and supportive people who are very enthusiastic about about what we make. And as somebody who makes things, like, what more could you ask for? That's so wonderful that to be reaching people. And as somebody who tours around a fair amount, like doing shows on the road with improvised Shakespeare and other things, it's now become such a frequent occurrence that after a show in Denver or New York or DC or Des Moines, someone will come up to me afterwards and say that they came because of Dropout. And that always just blows my mind. And it's so cool that you get that there's this broad reach, because as an improviser, you're so used to building a little world in front of an audience of 50. And so it's nice that you can, at best. So it's nice that we get to transmit this to so many people and have it resonate. I'm so grateful to have people watching.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, we're all grateful every time we see you show up in anything. We know it's going to be fun.
Oh, bless your heart. God bless. I'm thank you so much. And I hope folks keep watching. It's so delightful.
And if folks want to follow you on the Instagram and see those delightful cartoons, where can they find you?
The only social media that I really engage with any kind of consistency is Instagram, and I'm at Ross BB. So come on down at Ross BB. I post little cartoons and sometimes videos and little things as well.
Sometimes you prayer hands in front of a truck.
Sometimes I will be out here posing, flexing. It's a lot of workouts, get ready with me's, all that stuff. Yeah.
Ross, thank you so much. This has been an absolute delight. I don't know how to end an interview, so I'm just going to hit stop recording now.
Great. What better way?